This is an upscale neighborhood. What are you doing here?
We live in that luxury high-rise over there. This area isn't really a place for someone like you.
I couldn't believe it. I ran into him again, the man who cheated on me with a younger, wealthy woman and left me. And now, here they are, both looking down on me again.
You're still as plain and poor looking as ever. Oh, and by the way, I make $100,000 a year.
$100,000 a year? That must be tough.
The surprising response came from my husband. My name is Sarah Green. I'm 28 years old and work for a company that deals in ceramics. It all started back in middle school when we stopped by a ceramics market during a family trip because my mom loved pottery. Now, I've turned that passion into my career. While I'm happy doing what I love, I used to think I might stay single forever, and I was okay with that. However, life is unpredictable, and you never know who you'll meet. I joined a ceramics market as part of a town revitalization project, where I met Eric. He worked for the event planning company hosting it, and we started dating soon after.
Sarah, you love your work and work hard at it. You respect my job too, and I feel like I can build a stable home with you.
That's what Eric said, and I thought we could make it work after getting married since I didn't plan to quit my job myself. Eric's job often took him out of town for events, even on weekends. My work was similar. Sometimes I had to work weekends due to kiln schedules. We hardly ever spend our days off together, and sometimes plans got canceled at the last minute. Being too innocent, I realized things too late. Eric started canceling plans more frequently, even skipping wedding planning meetings. Moreover, he stopped answering my calls, which he never used to do. One day, after wrapping up a meeting in the city, I spotted Eric on the other side of the road.
Wow, what a coincidence.
I thought. Since I was heading straight home, maybe we could grab dinner together for the first time in a while. With that thought, I crossed the street as soon as the light turned green and ran to catch up with him.
Eric, are you done with work? Do you want to?
Next to Eric was a tall, beautiful woman with long legs, and they both turned to look at me. To my surprise, her arm was tightly wrapped around his.
Sarah, what are you doing here? What a coincidence.
I was nearby for a meeting that just ended. Are you still working? Who is this?
Trying to stay calm, I asked that, even though it didn't seem like he was working. I knew his job involved working with a lot of promotional models, so I wasn't immediately suspicious.
Well, this is Marissa. She's a model.
Hi there.
She smiled warmly at me. She was gorgeous and had great style as a model. So that must be work-related. I felt a little relieved. I didn't love that she was hanging on to him like that. Actually, it bothered me a lot, but maybe it was just normal for someone in her line of work.
Hi, I'm Sarah Green, Eric's fiancée.
When I introduced myself, Eric made a sour face, and Marissa glanced between us before laughing.
Wait, this is your fiancé? Oh my gosh, darling, I can't believe we ran into her like this.
Darling.
Come on, I told you to handle this quickly. You should clear things up right here and now.
She tilted her head up at him with a sweet but firm look, and he nodded before turning to me.
Sarah, listen, I'm dating Marissa.
What?
I'm sorry, but let's call off the engagement. I'm marrying Marissa.
Wait, Eric, what are you talking about?
I met Marissa at an outdoor festival event, and we just felt this instant connection, like fate.
Sorry. Eric was the one who came on strong, saying he'd break up with you for me.
She said that so casually.
Anyway, thanks for everything up to now.
Wait, Eric. Let's at least talk this through.
There's nothing more to talk about.
What does that mean?
My mind's made up. Just look at Marissa. She's gorgeous and has an amazing figure. She's seriously the best. She's only 24, and besides her family is loaded.
Eric, stop it. My dad's just the CEO, that's all.
Anyway, I'm marrying Marissa and taking her last name. Her family is distinguished, and her last name has a lot of significance.
Are you serious? Are you quitting your job? I thought you loved it.
It's what Marissa wants. It pays better than my current job anyway. Oh, by the way, cancel the wedding venue for me, will you? Don't worry, I'll cover the cancellation fee since it's on me.
Wow, Eric, you're so responsible.
I just want to be with you, Marissa, as soon as possible.
Wow, you're so dreamy.
I barely managed to keep myself from collapsing. There was no point in saying anything more. Just like she said, Eric was completely head over heels for her.
All right.
I squeezed the words out. I wouldn't cry. I didn't want to cry in front of those people.
Later then, keep working hard with your pottery.
What even is that?
The two of them walked off, arm in arm, laughing like it was the happiest day of their lives. 2 years had passed since Eric and I broke up. I turned 30 and I was still single, fully focusing on my work. Looking back, I have no lingering feelings for that man. If anything, I fortunately avoided being cheated on after marriage. Now I think so. Whenever the pottery pieces I designed came out of the kiln, it lifted my spirits. Meanwhile, someone had noticed that about me. That was James, a craftsman I had worked with for years at one of the kilns. I used to think his world revolved entirely around pottery. When he asked me out to dinner and confessed his feelings for the 3rd time, I was genuinely surprised. I respected him as an artist, so I was thrilled, to be honest. However, carrying such deep scars, I found it hard to take a step toward romance. Therefore, I decided to tell him everything. When I was engaged, I had announced that to my colleagues and the kiln staff. Naturally, James knew when that was called off. After listening silently, he gave me his usual kind smile.
That must have been really tough.
Yeah.
When I heard you were getting married, I was devastated. However, I thought it made sense. Someone as amazing as you would obviously have someone. I blamed myself for not making a move sooner.
What do you mean?
I wasn't expecting that.
When I saw you forcing a smile and saying the engagement was off, I wanted to support you right then and there. Yet I figured you needed time. So I decided to just keep creating good pottery to cheer you up.
You've cared about me for that long?
Besides, believe it or not, I get a fair bit of attention myself.
Huh?
My grandfather's wealthy, so I've had some gorgeous women pursue me. I even dated a few. Even so, honestly, I feel way more joy working with clay than being with them.
Hearing that, I just sighed. He wasn't boasting or joking, but just speaking calmly and seriously. This honesty of his felt so natural. As I was thinking that, he looked me straight in the eye.
Sarah, you're the first person I've ever truly wanted to make happy.
I almost wanted to laugh, and at the same time, a warm feeling filled my heart. With this man, I'd be okay. I found myself saying,
Thank you. I'm happy. Let's build a future together.
A year later, James and I got married. Both my colleagues and the people at the kiln celebrated our union. To continue working, we decided to live in 2 places for the time being. One home was near the kiln, at his family estate. Although I knew his grandfather was wealthy, I was shocked to see they owned a literal mansion. We lived in a section of that estate. We had talked about me eventually leaving my job and working alongside James at the kiln, living there permanently. The other home was a rented apartment near my company in the city. Since we still didn't have much furniture, we visited a nearby home goods store on that day. That's where an unexpected encounter awaited us. That wasn't a pleasant one. As we were looking at sofas, I heard a voice behind me.
Hey, isn't that Sarah, the plain one?
Eric.
Even after more than 3 years, I could never forget him. There stood my ex-fiancé, Eric. Beside him was Marissa, the model he left me for. I already knew they got married, just as they had announced. Marissa had flaunted it all over social media and magazines. However, something about her seemed different. She wasn't as stunning as before. Her expression seemed harsh and her aura dimmed. Come to think of it, I hadn't seen her in the media much lately. Although Eric was smirking, his face lacked energy.
This is an upscale neighborhood. What are you doing here?
Oh. Do I need a permit to shop in a fancy neighborhood?
Oh my. There's no way you live around here, huh? Even this store is pricey, not the kind of place someone like you would come to.
Exactly. You're still as drab and cheap looking as ever. Do you love dirt so much you dress like it?
I didn't expect any apologies, but his smug, condescending attitude annoyed me.
Yeah, having someone like you in here drags the store's class down. People might think we're poor, too.
Did you come all the way out here? For the record, we live in that famous luxury high-rise right over there.
On the 25th floor, no less.
The two kept bragging even though no one asked. It was irritating, but engaging with them felt like a waste of time. I stayed silent. Eric, apparently unhappy with that, kept pushing.
Are you still going on about how much you love pottery? You look so shabby, it's embarrassing. Oh, by the way, I make $100,000 a year.
He moved into that high-rise for me when he became part of my family's business. Isn't he sweet?
$100,000 a year? That must be tough.
The unexpected comment came from James. Even I was surprised and joined Eric and Marissa in staring at him.
I'm a little concerned for your household.
Hey, who is this guy?
Eric snapped, finally noticing my husband.
Nice to meet you. I'm James Harper. It sounds like you were involved with my wife Sarah in the past.
The two of them looked surprised for a moment. Then they started laughing mockingly while staring at James.
Wow, so you actually got married? Well, you two plain people are a perfect match.
Totally. He's got this spaced-out vibe. I didn't even notice him there.
So, what was that just now? That must be tough, huh?
Eric glared at James.
Well, I mean, you live on the 25th floor of that luxury high-rise, and you make $100,000 a year, right?
That's right, $100,000 a year.
Eric puffed up with pride.
On top of that, you're decked out in designer brands, and it made me worry for you.
Look at this poor guy saying nonsense because he's jealous. Sorry to disappoint you, but we're doing just fine.
Is that so? By the way, your wife doesn't look too well. Is she okay?
Really? Marissa, anything wrong?
Well, nothing at all.
$100,000 a year is probably a number you can't even comprehend. What about you? Making minimum wage?
No, not hourly. I'm not employed by a company. I stay at home.
Really? So you're a bum? I knew it. Sarah managed to marry, but you just mooch off her, huh?
Wait, that's not true.
Please don't insult my dear Sarah like that.
Whoa, gotta stick up for your sugar mama, huh?
And calling your wife with dear and being all formal. What a weirdo.
They kept mocking us with their baseless assumptions.
Sarah, let's go. Dealing with people like this is a waste of time.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
James took my hand, and we walked away.
Losers, don't come back.
Don't act like you belong in this neighborhood.
Well, in fact, we do live in the President Tower.
As James called out, the two of them burst into laughter.
Are you kidding? Trying to save face with such an obvious lie.
Everyone knows the President Tower is famous. No way a bum could live there.
Ignoring their obnoxious laughter, we left.
I can't believe we ran into them at such a place.
As we walked, I resented.
Never mind. I might have been rude to comment on their finances. People often say I'm bad at reading the room.
Huh.
I couldn't help laughing at his earnestness. That wasn't the issue. Clearly, those two were the rude ones.
Anyway, living so close to them is going to be awkward. What if we keep running into them?
Our apartment was also nearby. In fact, their high-rise had been one of our options. I was so glad we didn't choose that one. James reassured me.
Don't worry, they won't be around for long.
What did you say?
That woman's family is wealthy, right? Do you know their name?
Huh?
I didn't understand what he meant and just stared at him in confusion. A few days later, when James and I were leaving through the lobby, we suddenly heard a voice.
There they are. No way. They really live here.
Eric and Marissa appeared in front of us, and I couldn't hide my shock.
Why are you here?
Please help me.
Excuse me?
We're about to get kicked out of the high-rise.
Oh. Why's that?
For, unpaid rent.
You've been skipping rent? Well, then it can't be helped.
That had nothing to do with us.
Wait! They've been letting us delay the payments, but now suddenly they said they couldn't wait anymore. It's all because of your husband.
This time, Marissa shouted.
How exactly is that James's fault?
Because when I asked for the name, they said it was Harper. I can't believe your husband is the owner of that high rise.
She looked furious, her face flushed with frustration.
It's my father, not me.
Really?
The property originally belonged to my grandfather, and it's under my father's name now. Either way, it's their call.
According to the property manager, they'll proceed with an eviction if we don't pay up.
That's no surprise. It's not a charity after all. That's why I said $100,000 a year must be tough.
What the hell do you mean by that?
Eric yelled.
$100,000 a year for two people. Normally, that's plenty to live comfortably. However, the rent for the 25th floor in that building is $5,000 a month. Surely you accounted for taxes, didn't you?
What are you talking about?
Furthermore, you have all those designer brands. It's no wonder your finances are falling apart.
Wait, Marissa, you're the one who wanted to live there. How did we end up behind on rent?
Well, there's a certain lifestyle you have to maintain when living on the high floors, like luxury lunches, spa treatments, top-tier bags, and jewelry. Otherwise, no one takes you seriously.
Maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with those kinds of people. Is it really worth going into debt just to show off?
What did you say? Debt.
Eric shouted, sounding genuinely shocked. I wondered if he didn't know that.
How could you be behind on rent and in debt? What's going on?
That's because it's hard to stay on top in the high-rise community. As a model, I can't afford to look shabby.
You're not even getting modeling work anymore.
Ugh.
I knew that. No wonder I hadn't seen her anywhere.
That industry seems tough. There's always someone younger and newer coming along.
As I murmured, Marissa glared at me with a face like thunder.
Shut up, you plain little nobody.
Damn it, Marissa. You said you'd handle the finances, and yet you weren't even paying rent?
Eric snapped.
Marissa's family is rich, right? You've bragged about that before. Why don't you ask them for help?
I offered the suggestion with a deliberately sweet tone.
Sarah, her family's business has been struggling since last year. They don't have the resources to help.
What are you talking about?
Marissa, that's probably why you couldn't pay the rent anymore. You might have been getting financial help from your family up until then.
What? Wait a minute. How do you even know about my dad's company?
That's because my grandfather is the chairman of the Harper Corporation.
What did you say? The Harper Corporation.
A real trust fund kid.
Eric mumbled, completely stunned.
My father's company used to do business with yours, but it's been years since there's been any contact.
James continued calmly.
My grandfather owns many properties in and out of the States.
Then why didn't you say so when we met the other day?
It's not something I'd bring up myself. That would be tacky.
Are you just rubbing it in?
I didn't mean to, but if that's how it comes across, I suppose so.
Ugh, so annoying.
I apologize if I upset you.
Don't apologize so casually.
It felt like a comedy sketch. Since the back and forth between them was so quick and absurd, I almost laughed. Then Marissa snapped at me.
Humph. It's not your money after all, is it? You're just living off your grandfather's fortune too.
I firmly set the record straight.
James is a renowned potter. His works are so sought after that people are willing to wait months for them. At the same time, he and the kiln team also create affordable pieces so more people can enjoy them. His online sales always sell out.
I can't believe it.
He has never relied on his grandfather's money. Don't compare him to yourselves.
Though my family has always said they'd help if I needed it.
James added with a small laugh before turning serious and addressing Eric and Marissa.
Normally, if you're 3 months behind on rent, your lease is terminated and eviction proceedings begin. If the debt isn't cleared, forced eviction happens in another 2 to 3 months. That's clearly stated in the lease for that high-rise, isn't it? Still, your overdue rent of 5 months was tolerated because the property manager believed your wife's story.
What story?
She claimed her husband was sick, causing a loss of income, and begged for leniency.
Marissa, what did you do?
In fact, that was a lie. In reality, there was debt from excessive spending. I reported this to my father and grandfather.
Why do you know about the debt?
Eric was utterly shocked and Marissa wailed, half in tears.
That's because I looked into it.
James replied matter-of-factly.
Sarah had told me about the past, and we're happy now, so I didn't mind the coincidence of running into you.
Then why not leave it at that?
Well, when we met, what did you say to Sarah? Instead of any words of apology, you insulted and looked down on her. I just couldn't let that go.
That's not fair.
Besides, I was genuinely worried too, since you were claiming to live in a high-rise like that on $100,000 a year.
What do you mean?
At least now you've realized the problem before your debt got even worse.
James smiled warmly, leaving Eric and Marissa gaping in disbelief.
What is this guy, some kind of naive trust fund prince?
I couldn't help being impressed by what she said. He wasn't being snide, but just stating the facts. Whether it was because of his extraordinary upbringing or simply his personality, even I wasn't sure. Probably the latter, though.
Hey, Sarah, please help us. I apologize.
Oh, yeah. If you ask, he'll do something, right?
Surprisingly, they suddenly tried to switch sides.
I will not help you.
I smiled sweetly, copying James's polite demeanor. Though mine wasn't natural, but a deliberately smug smile.
Your debts have nothing to do with me.
Exactly. Now, Sarah, let's go.
Wait, please.
Don't just smile and cut us off like that. Have some mercy.
Ignoring the desperate screams of the two who had mocked me so thoroughly, I took James's hand and we walked away. After that, Eric and Marissa were of course evicted from the high-rise. Apparently, Marissa's father paid the overdue rent. In exchange, she was disowned. Her family's business was already in a dire situation, and Eric's salary as a son-in-law had also been reduced. Still, Marissa had spent recklessly to keep up appearances, which enraged her parents. They covered her debts in rent, but made it clear she was not welcome back until she repaid every cent. Eric, tired of her antics, was reportedly in the process of divorce. Honestly, it was partly his own fault for spoiling her and leaving the finances entirely to her. As for Marissa, she had borrowed from shady sources to keep up her lifestyle without her family or Eric finding out. Thus, she was being chased by shady debt collectors. Meanwhile, James and I are busy with our new line of tableware, which have been well received. Today, we are at the kiln discussing designs for the next collection, such as pieces for families to enjoy together, sets for couples, or items for solo moments of relaxation. We want to gradually expand our range to suit different lifestyles.
Sarah, what do you think about these colors here? Could you take a look?
Sure thing.
Someday, if we have children, I'd love for us all to sit together and eat from the plates James made. For now, we're surrounded by the earthy scent of clay, working in the workshop we love so much.